All right, so this is where we left off on page 2. We just entered in our down payment to Hallie Burrows. Okay. So the next thing we have here is we're going to purchase from restaurant supplies. Okay, and this time we bought a on an account. Okay, and we financed a for 12 months with 0 APR, payable to restaurant supplies. Okay, payments are going to be after 12 months will be subjected to a 18% interest. Okay, so in this case, what did we buy from restaurant supplies? We bought a cash register. Okay, here it is, right? Since we bought it from the store, we were taxed, okay? And of course, no shipping, and we placed it on an account, account number 569812. Okay? So, how do we record this? We purchased a fixed asset, right? So, how do I record this? Check our chart of accounts to see if there's any accounts that that exist. Okay.
Equipment, office equipment, I think.
Office equipment under what sub account?
Cash register here.
1450. Okay. And because we placed it on an account, what account are we going to use for that?
Payable.
Accounts payable, which is account number 20,000. Okay, accounts payable. We're going to be using our accounts payable for our, in this case, wrong. Not accounts payable. Okay. Yes, we understand that we owe money, but in this case, it's a financing opportunity. Am I obligated to pay within 12 months?
No.
No, right? I have the opportunity to pay it after 12 months. I have the opportunity to pay it before 12 months. So in this case, what do we call this type of account if we owe them whenever we'd like and we can defer our payments whenever we like? And if we do defer our payments, we just have to accept that we get charged 18% interest. So what do we call that?
I don't.
Okay, it isn't it? Is it
Notes.
correct? Notes payable, right? A notes payable is to promise to pay back somebody, but the flexibility of having a notes payable is you don't necessarily, you have a time frame, right? You can choose when to pay. You can defer payments. You're not obligated to have to pay within the year. You could choose to pay after the year, and you can talk with them to see if you can extend payments later on out. So in this case, this is a notes payable. Okay. So if this is a notes payable, right? How am I going to journalize this? Okay, so we said we have a cash register for 14,050, and then we have a notes payable, right? Which is account number 23,000. Now, how much is going to be my cash register? What number am I going to be recording here?
$599.99.
Okay, so in this case, that's just the price of the item, right? What are we going to do with the sales tax?
$649.49.
Okay, so what are we going to do with the sales tax?
Sales tax the part of cost.
Correct. Sales tax is going to be part of the cost because we are purchasing a fixed asset. This is getting it to the store, but getting it also ready for service. In this case, it's a cash register. You just plug it into the wall and it will go. So in this case, I'm going to include everything, including the tax. So in this case, $649.49 is what I'm going to be recording. Okay. So in this case, what details am I going to be listing here under my description? Who did I deal with?
Restaurant Supplies Incorporated.
Yep, restaurant supplies. Okay. What else? What other information do I need to put in here? I didn't use a check to pay for this. What's the proof that a transaction had happened?
With sales receipt number 001.
Good, right? So again, I'm just going to go SR number 001487. Okay. And what else information? I'm going to even put my account number here. Number 569-812. Okay. All right. So now that my journal is complete, I now need to update my ledger. Okay. So in the case, this first thing I got here was I purchased a machine. In this case, a cash register. So right here. We're still on the 6. Okay. In this case, what details are you going to put in here? Well, you can say 5, whatever the details here is. So $599.99 plus $49.50 of tax to get you your total amounts there. Okay. I think it's a 49, 49.50, yeah. Okay. So there you go. So therefore, that will tell me post reference general journal number 2. And I acquired this asset for $649.49. Okay. Now, this is the very first time we are finally dipping into our liabilities here. So, scroll down, my first liability I have here is my notes payable. Notes payable. There you go. Okay. All right, so in this case, you could say financed $12 months cash register, okay, interest 18% APR after 12 months. Okay. Post reference number 2. In this case, we credited our account because we owe money, right? For $649.49. Okay. And now, because we owe money to Restaurant Supplies, we now have to update our subsidiary ledger, and this is going to be our first owing account. Okay. So Restaurant Supplies is letter R. Okay, here we are, Restaurant Supplies. You're going to type in the same information. Financed. I might be able to copy it. That's okay. Financed 12 months on cash register with 0% APR for first 12 months, 18% APR. Okay. We're not given any details of when we have to make a payment, but invoice number. What was our invoice number in this case? It was a sales receipt number, 001487. Oh, other information you could do here is you could put your account number. Okay. Account number. $569812. Okay. Post reference, general journal number 2, because that's what I am on. Is there terms? In this case, we don't know yet. We haven't received the bill, but we know that we bought something, okay? And we know that this is invoiced for a total of $649.49, and I didn't make a payment. So this is where the formula is going to apply, right? I have an invoice amount, okay? I'm going to subtract any prepaid, any returns, any discounts, and any payments. So therefore, because I didn't have any of those, it tells me that I owe $649.49. And that is true. Okay. So again, we did our journal, we updated our ledger accounts, and we posted to our subsidiary ledger. Okay. So then, let's go ahead and see what has happened next.
Teacher,
Yes.
I have a question about this terms of payment. Monthly payment, or if I delay the payment after 12 months, I have to pay this and the rest 18%. Please, I need to explain this terms of payment.
Have you ever opened up a credit card before? If you have, they usually give you a grace period of 0 interest for 15 months. That means you you don't have to pay until 15 months later with 0 interest. However, after that 15th month rolls around, then that means on the 16th month, you have to start paying back the money plus interest. That is the rule here. In this case, if I get billed, I'm going to be receiving a bill. Am I obligated to pay? No, because I have a 12-month holding period of when I can make the payment for. I get 0 interest. So that's what this means here. So yes, that means the first 12 months, I don't have to pay unless I want to pay. And then after that, after the 12 months is over, then the 13th month, they're going to start charging me interest. Now, most people do this. They try to pay off so then they don't ever have to pay the interest. Okay? But once again, when you kind of sign up for this kind of ordeal, that 12 months, you do not have to make a payment if you don't want to, and that's a holding period. But if you do make a payment, then it's going to reduce, obviously. But if you don't make a payment, you have until the 12 months later, and then after that, then they start accruing interest, and then you're going to pay more than $649. You're going to pay 18% on top of that.
Thank you, teacher.
Okay, so next scenario here is it is finally a new day. Okay, so that was the last transaction that we did, was entering in our cash register. So then we hired LV Remodeling Company to remodel the store for us. Okay, awesome. And right, so we hired LV Remodeling. Is that something that we need to journalize?
No.
No, we just simply hired them. We don't know whether they completed the job or not. Most likely, if you're going to be remodeling a store, it's going to take at least a couple days. Other than that, we never received a bill. We don't know how much their services is going to be because we don't know because the job's not done yet. Okay? So in this case, no, you do not need to record that. However, Kim Robinson, okay, has finally issued you her bill that you owe her. So she invoiced you and said that the professional consultation fees cost you a total of $1,000, okay? Which she gives you term that it's going to be due in 3 days. Invoice number 1542. So in this case, right, we received a bill. Am I obligated to pay now? In this case, I say we'll pay her in 3 days, right? Because we need to order a bunch of other stuff. We don't have we want to make sure we have enough money, and then we'll pay her later. So in this case, if I'm going to pay her later, we receive the bill and the terms is 3 days. Then how do I journalize this? How do I journalize this? Okay. So let's take a look here, right? What did she do for us for her to bill us?
Is it because they wrote an invoice or
Yeah, they billed us. What did we originally hire Kim Robinson for?
remodel?
Well, remodeling what? Is she going to be doing the work to remodel the store, or what did we actually use her for?
For ideas.
For ideas. Good. For a consultation. Correct. So in this case, right?
Is it just a business expense?
Correct. Right? Because in this case, let's look at all the expenses. Does any of these remotely match anything in regards to this company, right? Is it an advertising expense? No, not really. Is it a bank fee? Of course not. Business expense is probably the most like likelihood, right? Is it freight expense? No, she didn't ship anything to us. Is it insurance? No. Is it interest? No. Is it labor? She didn't work for us. Is it a license and permit? No, she didn't work for us. Is it a loss? Is it office supplies? Did we have to pay her on payroll? She's not even an employee. So in this case, out of all the expenses that we have listed out here, business expense is going to be the most reasonable account to use, right? Because you got her to consult a business idea to you. So in this case, business expense is going to be correct. Now, if she sent you a bill and you choose not to pay for it now, what do we call that?
Liability?
A liability. So in this case, which liability account are we going to be using?
Maybe accounts payable?
It would be 100% an accounts payable. So there you go. Let's go ahead and pop that into our journal. Okay. So I think business expenses 6,200. Okay. So business expense, right? It's an expense that occurred and then you owe money. So in this case, business and then of course okay. So once again, business expense, right? Because we spent money to have a service provided for us. Therefore, we increased our business expense. However, we owe her money now. So because we are increasing a liability, therefore it's going to be on the credit side. So again, liability is $20,000. And how much money do we owe her? $1,000. Okay. So here you have all the information that you need to be able to write a description. Okay. So first things first is, who is the person you hired? Kim Robinson. Okay. Did she have an invoice number? Invoice number 1542. Okay. And then of course you could say here that it's due in 3 days, so net 3. And you could say here interior design consultation. Okay. Boom. So now our journal is done. Okay, and that's exactly how we're going to do it, is that we're recognizing this is a business expense and we are going to be placing it on an account. So now we have our journal done. We now need to update our ledger because now we have a liability. We owe money. Okay, so first thing, it's an expense. We spent money to create a business expense. So here it is, business expense here. Date is 6/7, right? Interior design consultation. Okay. Post reference, General Journal 2 for $1,000. Okay. And of course, because we said that we're not going to pay her now, we're going to pay her later, we need to update our liabilities because now we've created a accounts payable account. In this case, you have two options on what you want to do. I normally like to just put just the invoice number on here. So invoice number 1542, and that should pretty much cover up everything, right? Because I can go ahead and look into my subsidiary ledger, look into the invoice number 1542, or sorry, 1542, and be able to recognize that this is from Kim Robinson. This is for the interior design consultation, and you can get the exact date of when it happened, when it's due, etc., etc. So that's pretty much all the information I need because the invoice is going to tell you who it's from, when is it due, how much is it due. Okay? And of course, my Porsche reference is going to be General Journal number 2. And because it's a liability, it's going to be on the credit side. Okay? Okay? $1,000 on the credit side. So, because we owe money to Kim Robinson, we must update the subsidiary ledger. So in this case, it's going to be based on last name. So Kim is right here, right underneath restaurant supplies. It is the 7th, okay? And then I'm going to go ahead and write the same information down here. Interior design consultation. Okay? Invoice number 1542. Post reference General Journal number 2. Okay? Now, this is where UE can actually use terms because now it is applicable, right? She said this bill is due in 3 days. So in this case, if it's due in 3 days, we know that as net 3. So here's what's really cool about Excel is that you can have this calculate 3 days. How do I do this? So since there is no discount, she didn't give me any discounts on her consultation, but we do have a due date. Now, how do we calculate the due date? You can go ahead and press your equal sign, click on the date that we have here. So it says right here on June 7th, and you can just simply add 3 days to it. And it will automatically calculate that this bill is due on June 10th. Okay? You could do that, or if you want to, you can go ahead and look up on your calendar and say, well, if I receive the bill on the 7th, right? I know I have 3 days to pay, so therefore 8, 9, 10. That means the bill is due on the 10th, right? That's 3 days later upon receiving the bill. Okay? So in this case, there you go. It's due on the 10th of June. Okay? And in this case, right, we definitely have an invoice amount for $1,000. No prepaid, no discounts, no returns, and definitely no payments. So in this case, my formula once again is invoice amount minus prepaid, minus returns, minus discounts, minus payments. Because these 4 factors reduce the overall invoice amount. So in this case, I owe Kim Robinson $1,000. Okay. Everyone good so far?
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So, like I said, if I just put in my accounts payable that I have invoice number 1542, boom, I pull that information, I know it's from Kim. I know exactly what it's for. I know when it happened, when it's due, and how much I owe. Okay, so again, using certain reference points is a very powerful thing. Okay. All right, so then now that I entered in my very first bill, let's take a look at to see what happened next. Okay. We finally received our very first purchase order, right? We received from the furniture store, okay? And it says assumed delivery charges are going to be split 75% for the counter and 25% for the shelves. Okay, so what does that mean? Well, let's take a look at this bill. Okay, so in this case, we received our counter and our shelves first. Okay, here it gives you the details here. So I purchased one counter and I to purchase 5 display shelves, okay? Each with the numbers here, giving you a grand total of $1,543, okay? We got taxed for $127.30, and we have delivery charge of $100, with a total amount due for $1,770.30. So this little notion here up here says that I have to split the freight to be 75% to the counter and 25% to the display shelves. Now, taking a look at this, right? You have a couple ways at how you can distribute freight. Now, in most cases, right, freight is usually based on weight, on how heavy the items are, right? And in this case, right, a counter is definitely going to weigh a lot more than a display shelf, right? Now, you can go ahead and weigh each one if you want a more accurate depiction of how much freight to distribute for this one. But my assumption is this counter that you bought must have been at least bigger than, a sheet of paper, right? This counter must be at least a 5-foot by 3-foot, okay? It must be big. And if it's huge because it cost you $1,000 for this counter, a safe assumption is that counter must be really heavy compared to display shelves, right? Display shelves might be a piece of glass, very thin, right? Or it could be a piece of wood, very thin. How heavy is a shelf compared to a counter, right? If you think about it in realistic terms, you can already say that the counter is obviously going to be more expensive, but or going to be obviously the more heavier one. So in this case, right, now I don't want to go ahead and calculate down to the exact weight measurement because in this case, I don't got the time to do that. I'm going to tell you, hey, you know what? Just looking at what the items that were shipped, just assume 25% of the freight is going to be towards the shelves because you got 5 of them. They're going to, when you stack them up, they're of course are going to be heavy, but they're definitely not as heavy as the counter. So just put 75% to the counter. Okay? So in this case, $75 to the counter, $25 to the display shelves. Now in this case, right? How are we going to calculate the total cost of our counter and the total cost of our shelves? Right? We're going to have to split the tax as well, right? Based on the price point. Okay? So we'll go ahead and figure all of that out in a second. Now, in this case, I received a bill. When is this bill due?
Is it June 7th or because that's just a chip date? So
Okay, that's the day that we received the bill.
yeah. 22. The 22nd.
Good. How do you know that? You have terms right here, net 15. So that means that gives me the opportunity. Am I going to pay today or am I going to pay in 15 days? And like I said, because you are a startup company, you have much other things that you need to pay for first. I'm going to safely assume that I received a bill. I will pay when I pay on the due date. So in this case, this is going to be another accounts payable account. So let's go ahead and figure these numbers out. So in my journal, what am I going to journalize? What did I acquire?
Counter and display shelves.
Yes, we bought a counter and we bought display shelves. And of course, we're placing this on accounts payable because we choose to not pay now. We're going to pay it within the 15 days. Okay? So again, in my chart of accounts, what account number is my counter and what account number is my display shelves?
13020 for counter and 13040.
Okay, 1320 and 1340, okay? So counter was 1320, display shelves was 1340, and accounts payable, so we look from above, is 20,000. Now I'm going to go ahead and go over to the side over here because I need to do some calculations. I know for a fact that my counter cost me a total of $10.33, okay? And my display shelves, right, were $102 per shelf times 5 gave you $510. Okay? I need to split the tax on this, right? How much tax? Right now, I have a total of $127.30 worth of tax. So in this case, how am I going to solve for the tax on my counter? I'm going to multiply it by my tax, right? And what do I get for my tax here? How much tax is going to be on my counter?
$852.23.
Okay, you said $800. Now, can I charge $800 to my tax when my total tax was only $127.30?
Wait, is it not 852.23?
No, it's definitely not.
Oh. Oh, I think I know what.
How about 85.22?
Yes, so 85.22. So then what's going to be my tax for the display shelves? It's going to be $42. Now let me double check this. Is this correct? I got $127.30. So in this case, that is my tax. Don't forget, I also have to pay for shipping, right? $75 to my counter, $25 to my display shelves. Okay, so then let's add up my grand totals here. Okay. Okay. So here I get a grand total of $1,193.22 for my counter, and I got $577.08 for my display shelves, giving me a grand total of $1,770.30. So therefore, that is how I'm going to be splitting up everything I knew, because in this case, right, I'm buying fixed assets. I'm buying furniture. So in this case, this is considered a fixed asset. So that means every cost it takes to get the asset ready for service. So if I got charged tax, that's included. If it had to ship to my store, that's included. In this case, a counter, right? You just place it down. It's a counter. Okay? Display shelves, you just mount it on the wall. It's not going to take that much labor or extra efforts into putting together. So in this case, right, they're pretty much already ready for service. So here we're going to go ahead and say this was $1,193.22. This was $577.08, giving you a grand total payment that you owe for $17.70.30, which is the exact amount that is on your bill. Okay? So, I have all the information I need for this bill, right? I have the date, I have the invoice number, right? The invoice number for my bill is right here at the top. Okay, so invoice number 69. So let's start from the very first thing is, who is the vendor that I received the items from? Furniture store. Okay. Next thing is invoice number 69. Okay. And how many days do I have to pay this? Net 15. Okay. And that should be enough information. Okay. All right. So, next things next is I want to make sure I do check mark that I received the items that I purchased. So, I'm going to make sure that I go to my purchase orders first, because I need to make sure that, yes, I received my counter and display shelves. But I'm still pending on regards to my my counter. Okay, and it seems like I forgot to put in the purchase order for Hallie Bros. So here you go. So in this case, my counter and shelves, I did receive it, and it was for invoice number 69. So in this case, I have to go back and say, well, my purchase order for my coffee brewer and coffee grinder. Okay, this is Hallie Bros. Okay, for brewer slash grinder. Okay, let's see. For a total cost was $3,515. Okay. Right, but in this case, yes, I received my items of the counter and the display shelves, right, with the invoice number 69. Okay. And And I already did all my calculations, so I have exactly how much each asset is going to cost me. So back to my journal here. Okay. Since I completed my journal, now I need to complete my ledger. Okay. So in this case, I acquired some furniture. So therefore, I need to find my accounts for that. There you go. Counter is right here. You can put all the information here for 6-7 that it cost you 1033 plus 8.25% tax, which came out to be what, 85.22. Plus $75 for freight. Okay. Post reference, Journal 2. Okay. And I have this for $11.93 and 22 cents. Okay. My display shelves are down here, right? Here, what you could say here is you got 5 display shelves at $102 each, which gave you a total of $510 plus 8.25% tax, which equaled $42.08 plus $25 freight. Okay. Journal number 2, and we got this for $577.08. Now, because we placed this on an account, right? Therefore, we have another liability to add to our already existing liability. So in this case, 6-7. Once again, same ordeal here. I don't need to display or notify how much each item is. In this case, I just put in my invoice number, which is invoice number 69, Journal number 2. And I increased my liability by $17.70 and 30 cents, which now, this is where the formula is going to be different, because in this case, we are working with credits instead of debits. So how this works is it's going to be the same formula, except you're going to have a little difference in it. So in this case, I'm going to take in my credit column, I'm going to take my previous balance of $1,000. In order to increase my liabilities, I'm going to add my credits, and debits decrease my accounts. Okay, so again, previous one of 1,000 plus 1770 minus 0. So again, up 1 plus left 2 minus left 3. Okay, and that should give you a running balance of $2,700 $170.30, and you can drag this formula all the way down. Okay? So that is my liability account here. Now, last but not least, we need to update our ledger, our subsidiary ledger, because in this case, we received a bill from Furniture Store and we owe them money. So, in this case, I'm going to locate Furniture Store. Okay, freight line, Furniture Store. All right. The date that we received it was the 7th. What did I buy? I bought a counter and 5 display shelves. Okay, and this is where you can also make notes here saying how much the counter was. So the counter was $11.93.22 in case you do need to return it. Okay, at least you have the numbers here and you're able to just return it for that amount. And of course, the display shelves was $577.08. Okay. Of course, the invoice number was 69. Reference is going to be General Journal number 2. And the terms that I had was net 15. So again, they didn't give me any discount opportunities, but they did give us a deadline of when the bill is due. So in this case, once again, right, I'm going to take this date right here, and I'm going to add 15 to it, and it's going to tell me this bill is due on June 22nd. Okay? Again, we didn't make any down payments or any prepayments ahead of time, but we did get invoice for $17.70.30. No payment was made, so therefore I owe $17.70 minus 0 for prepaid, 0 for returns and allowances, 0 for discounts, and 0 for payments, bringing it to telling me that I owe $17.70.30. Okay? Any questions so far?
No.
Okay? All right. So what I want to do here is we'll do the next 2 transactions and then we'll stop for the rest of the day and then come back to this next week and finish up the rest of it. So in this case, right, now that we added our counter and display shelves, here we have another purchase order for purchase order number 17304. Another one to Furniture Store, and this time we're buying 10 sets of a bistro table with accompanied 2 chairs per set, which is going to cost me $605.55, giving me a grand total, if I buy 10 of them, to be $6,055.50. Okay, this is a purchase order. So, again, do we need to journalize this?
No.
No. But we do need to update our purchase order. So in this case, purchase order number 17304. Date that we ordered was the 7th. Who did we order from? Furniture Store. What did we buy from Furniture Store? We bought tables and chairs. okay, in the total amount of 6055.50. Okay? So then, now that that's a journal transaction that we don't journalize, let's see what has happened next. So then, right, we find out that the down payment check written out to Haley Bros on the 6th was actually for the wrong amount. Someone did not do their math correctly and realized that a third of the 500 at the 5,015 dollars divided by 3 is not 11.40 and 22 cents. It actually turns out to be 11.7187. So in this case, right, we must void the check because we already issued it. We already sent it out. Rule of thumb is if you sent a check out and you're trying to recorrect it, you have two options. You can either send another check with a different amount, okay, that will be acceptable, or you can just void the check and give an overall brand new check and issued it for the correct amount. And that's what we are going to do. We're going to void check number 1506 and we're going to revise the purchase order because the purchase order says that the down payment for a third of the order is for $11.40 and 22 cents. But in reality, we recorrected it and it's now for $11.71.87. Okay? So in this case, right, we're going to be practicing the reverse and re-entry situation here because we need to void the check. If we void the check, what's going to happen? What happens when you void a check?
You can no longer use it.
You can no longer use it, but what happens in your books? What do you have to do if you void a check?
Note it.
You note it, and how do you note it? What happens to the transaction? Is it still valid?
No.
No. What happens? It gets canceled. It becomes undone, right? Because if you cancel this check amount for $11.40.22, that means that money never comes out of your bank account. So therefore, you must reverse the transaction. So in this case, if I void the check, that means the check is going to come back to me, right? It's going to come back to me. And therefore, whatever account that I put this down payment in is also going to be undone as well. Okay. Okay. So in this case, that amount was for the $11.40 and 22 cents. Okay. And what I'm going to note here is you could say right here that you voided check number 1506, reverse entry on June 6th. Okay. All right. So now that I have to reverse everything, right, I need to go to my check register because that check is now voided. Okay, so any way you want to do it, whether you black it out or whether you put a big red sign, I guess I can do that, right? I can make this red, and I'm going to place it here saying this is voided. Okay. All right, so then at least I know, right? When you void a transaction, obviously the check number doesn't disappear. It still is there because you already sent the check out. However, by you doing this, you must call the bank and make sure that they do process it and say that this check is voided. So that means the person, on the other hand, if they do receive it, they can't deposit it as an extra payment. No. Okay? That means it's nulled. It doesn't work. Okay? I also have to now go to my ledger account because I have to undo a lot of stuff. Okay? So I'm going to go to my ledger account. First thing I have to do is I have to revert the money back to my checking account. Okay? So go to assets. We're going to revert the money back to my checking account. Okay? In this case, I'm going to put in the date. What I'm going to do here is I'm also going to edit this and say this was voided as well. Okay? So there, in here, actually, sorry. Wait, not this one. That's this line right here. You're going to say check number 1506 was voided. So then that's going to reverse that money, and it's going to say that you are going to put back the 1140 back into your bank account to bring you back up to where you were before at 11,361.29. Okay? Once again, because when you void this check, it's going to also undo the deposit or the down payment in your prepaid accounts. So again, prepaid accounts is going to be this one, right? Prepaid accounts. We're going to undo this. So, right, you're going to say void down payment on brewer/grinder. Okay, which is going to revert that 1140 and 22 cents, which in this case, right, if I put a credit in here and you have your formula written in here, it should bring you back down to 6654.17. Okay? So that's the reverse of this. Okay? I also need to update that into my ledger account because in this case, right, I no longer have this. Okay, so what I'm going to do here is I'm going to go to Haley Bros. And I'm just going to go ahead and edit this and say this check was voided. Okay. Okay. Now in this case, do I need to undo this whole thing? No. It's not necessary because if you just write voided here, this transaction doesn't exist. In fact, it doesn't exist because in this case, you never owed them in the first place. But by entering that you voided this check, this basically tells you that you're keeping your transaction there and that this is no longer available because you voided it. Okay? So, now let's go ahead and see what's next. Now it tells you that you need to revise the purchase order and reissue a new check to Haley Bros for the correct amount of the $1171.87. PO number 170303R for revised. So in this case, I have to go and revise my purchase order, and then I need to issue a brand new check and then place it in here for the correct amount. So, therefore, let's see, I need to go to my purchase orders because I have to revise it because in my old purchase orders, I have it listed that the down payment was $1140. So in this case, I need to go up here and I'm just going to stick a letter R in here because I don't have the purchase order form here, right? I'm not the one that's filling it out. The boss is, right? So in this case, I'm just going to put a letter R so then I know that it's been revised. Okay? So then I need to go to my check register because now I need to reissue a new check for the 1171.87. Okay? And this is for Hallie Bros. Okay? So now I have a new issue check for 1507. Okay? So then now I can journalize it again because now I reissued a new check. So therefore, I made another prepaid down payment. And here I wrote a brand new check. Okay? So again, this is to correct the entry. I did the reverse and then now I'm doing the re-entry, right? Because I voided the check. Therefore, I have to reverse the transaction because this check doesn't exist anymore. So if that check doesn't exist, that means I have to undo the transaction. And then now, because I reissued a new check for the correct amount, I need to enter in another transaction for the corrected amount. Okay? So there you go. There's your example of a reverse and reentry. Okay, for the 1171 and 87 cents. So here you have all the information that you need, right? You have Hallie Bros, or Hallie Bros, whatever you want to call them. Hallie Bros, PO number 17303R, because it's been revised. Okay? You're going to say the same thing. This is a third down payment. Okay? Down pay. And you used check number 1507. Okay? All right. So once again, you need to go ahead and place it back into your ledger and then update your subsidiary ledger as well. Okay. So ledger. Right here, I'm at prepaid accounts already. So here you go. I'm going to go ahead and write 1/3 down pay on brewer grinder. Okay. And I'm also going to put the PO number here just to let you know the difference between the two, that this one's been revised. We're still on general journal number 2. And now this time, we're going to increase it by the 1171.87. So therefore, my account balance is now going to be for the correct amount of $7,826.04.
You don't have to go back onto the other one of the 1140 and reverse that. Like, so it doesn't calculate it?
We did. Right? We reversed it right here. And we said we voided the check. So we reversed it already.
I see. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
Thank you, sorry.
Yes. You should 100% do that. That way you have a track record that, okay, yes, you paid them, but then you ended voiding that, and now you reissued a new one for the correct amount.
Yeah, I didn't realize it was on the credit side right there.
Yeah. No worries. Okay. So, of course, we wrote out a new check. Therefore, we have to go back to checking and enter in my brand new check for check number 1507, okay, which is on journal number 2, and this time I'm crediting it for 1171.87. So therefore, that should bring my account balance now back down to $10,189.42. Okay. So once again, 10,189.42. Okay, so that's the corrected amount. Okay. And then now we need to update my subsidiary ledger because now I have new information that I have issued to Haley Bros, right? So in this case, right, I don't need to clear this one at all because I want to keep a track record because I have something that's linked to it, which is the check number 1506. So therefore, I shouldn't remove this at all. And in this case, even if I did remove it, it wouldn't affect my account at all because I don't owe them anything anyways. So in this case, right, I'm going to leave it in here because I have this track record of the 1506. I don't want to remove that. But I am going to indicate that I did issue a brand new check, right? And this time it's 1/3 down pay on brewer / grinder. But this time I issued check number 1507. Okay? Because the first one said I voided it. And this time this is purchase order number 7170303R because I revised it. Okay? And of course, in this case, this is on journal number 2. We haven't received the bill yet, so we don't know what the terms are, but we do know that that because we made changes, right? It's now $1,171.87, and we paid it with check number 1507. So therefore, I owe Haley Bros nothing, okay? Because they, remember, the idea here is when you invoice them, right? They said that if you want these items, you have to pay this. So they technically kind of billed you in advance already saying, you owe me this, and if you don't pay, then you're not going to get your items. So in this case, that's what the invoice amount is for. Okay. All right. And we're going to stop here. Okay, so I'm going to mark the page here that when we come back to this, we're going to enter in our desk set, and then we're going to have other stuff too. And then we're going to complete our trial balance for the first week of Coffee Cafe. Okay, so other than that, your homework this weekend is to